Sorry, I pressed start instead of share. 1 second. There we go. That's the sound I want to hear. All right. All right, so we're going to a more in-depth lesson on dedication next week when we're at the hall. Today we'll just get a bit of a background and understanding of the Feast of Dedication. Yeah. So please, for today, get your Bible, get your pocket phone. We're going to be mainly staying inside the book of First Maccabees, but we'll jump here and there when need be. We're going to go to Maccabees, the first chapter, and we're going to pick up at the top. I'll just read the commentary real quick in Shabbat Shalom to everyone online. It says, "It's that time of year again when the whole world seems to be drunk on the spirit of the fall and winter pagan holidays, with very few having knowledge of what the Feast of Dedication is, and even fewer celebrating and keeping the feast. It can be a challenge not to celebrate the pagan days that the rest of the world is partaking in." I think yesterday for us, or 2 days ago, was Thanksgiving in America. When they celebrate and come together as a family and, have a turkey in commemoration of the massacre of the Gadites. Such retardation. That's one type of pagan festivity. We have a pagan festivity coming up, Christmas, as we already know. And throughout the whole year, we have pagan festivities that we have to abstain from. Now, there's so many people out there, even within the truth, being walking in. That's why I say be careful. Be careful of studying too much. When knowledge becomes your primary objective, you can study yourself so much that you study yourself out of the truth and you don't even know it. You can go into Gnosticism, and Gnostics like to take different references from different parts of the world. This guy was wise in India, let me take some of his knowledge, so on and so forth. And then they put together this knowledge and they create their own belief system, right? Gotta be careful when we're studying. 2, the next big thing to be careful for is to become complacent or too comfortable. All right? And every single one of us inside of this room, every single one of us inside this walk has had a time or an experience where we have become too complacent or too comfortable. Becoming too comfortable is dangerous. Yeah? There's so many people who've been walking this walk for 13, 15 years, and I see them now trying to push this thing, like come together with your family on Thanksgiving. And you know what they use to justify this? They'll say, Christ hung out with the sinners. Christ had dinner with the sinners. Such foolishness. Yeah, Christ never had a dinner with sinners when they came together to celebrate the massacre of their own brethren, of their own people. Not once did he ever do that. That's foolishness. Come together the next day. Come together on Wednesday during the week. Why has to be that specific day that you have to come together? They say, well, Christ says you have to be a light, so be a light. Yeah, you can be a light. Be a light by holding firm on what you believe in, holding firm on your faith, and standing your ground, standing on the Most High. Simple. Much persecution can come from family and friends for celebrating something that is so foreign and far removed from their minds, such as dedication, Passover, etc., etc. Let's take a look at the importance and significance of the Feast of Dedications or the Feast of Lights, with hopes that it will instill in us the same level of motivation and dedication as it did our foreparents while helping us overcome the pressures of celebrating pagan days. Yeah? All right, First Maccabees, the first chapter. Pick up from verse 1, please.
This is the first book of Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, and smitten Darius the king of Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
All right, now reading the Bible and we're going into more of the Old Testament writings, it can bore a lot of us, yeah? How many of us have read the Bible and we start getting to certain genealogies, this person was the son of this and son of that and so on and so forth, and you're just like, you start falling asleep or you get tired or you just skip it altogether. I've been there. First coming to the truth, I started reading, I got to the Genesis, the 5th chapter, talks about all the genealogies of Adam, and I'm thinking to myself, why do I have to know about this? I want to know what happened. This is not what happened. I don't want to know this person is the father of this and so on. It serves me no purpose. It does serve a purpose, because when you're tracing lineages and so forth, they are needed very much. So when it comes to this, it says it happened after that Alexander, which the world calls Alexander the Great. Okay, we call him Alexander the Greek. There's some nice shoes. Oh, very nice shoes. Yeah, Alexander the Greek, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim. Now, does anybody know where Chittim is? No? You don't know where Chittim is, Caleb? It's near Greece. That's a hint. Anyone? Miss Teacher at the back? Yeah? Hey? Cyprus. Yeah? Had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes. Who is the Persian and Medes? Iran, right. Now, let me ask you a question. Why is it called Persians and Medes? Because if you ask an Iranian, be like, yo, what are you? Are you the Mede? Are you Median? They'll say, no, I'm Persian. So does anybody know why it's Persian or the Medo-Persian Empire? Why is it Medes, Persia? Why? Anybody know?
No, all I know is that the Medes took over first in biblical situations.
Nope.
Were they two different people and then they came together?
Nope. Same people. Different states. Think about it. You have Western Australia and say we're the Eastern Australia. Say you were named Bomb and you were named Ross. The Ross and the Bomb Empire. Do you understand what I'm saying? Horrible example, but that's the best I could come up with. Yeah. So when you go into the even ancient maps of Persia, you'll see it was divided into 3. There's one missing. And you can find it in the book of Enoch. Don't ask me what it's called because I can't remember. I've got it here on my notes. So the Medo-Persians. So it says Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, Cyprus, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead. The what?
The first over Greece.
And now when it says the first over Greece, what does that mean? Because the verbiage here, brothers and sisters, is very, very, very specific. The first over Greece. So you're telling me that before Alexander, there was never a king in Greece? Why does it say the first? Of course they had kings. Kings and queens in every empire, right? But why the first? It's because Alexander was not a Grecian. If you trace his lineage back, Elder Carl broke it down one time in the academy. He goes back to Esau. So the first Edomite king over Greece. All right? But anyways, I'm talking too much. Verse 2.
Verse 2. And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
And when it says tributaries unto him, it means that they were servants, okay, or laborers. So in other words, they did whatever he wanted them to do. Come on.
Verse 5. And after these things he fell sick.
He fell what?
He fell sick.
Now, if you go into, like, if you ask some Indians, they'll say that Alexander the Greek was killed by the Punjabis. No. That is a teaching that goes out there to the Punjabis in India. Alexander had come to conquer India, and when he went through Punjab, or the Punjabi people, which are known as the how do you call it? The warriors of India, he did not overcome them. He lost the battle and he fled back. But when it says he fell sick, does anybody know how he fell sick? Because after he fell sick, he died. But how did he die? How did he fall sick? Has anybody ever looked into that?
Some weird disease that they also say it was cancer.
Yeah, but how did that come? I'll give it a hint. It was through radioactive materials. You see, when you go into the land of Iran, they have certain mountains that are very radioactive, and they use these materials inside those mountains to make what? Nuclear bombs. Yeah? That's why a lot of countries in the world are very scared of Iran, because they know the power that it produces. Okay? That's one. Two, through an elderly Iranian man a few years ago, he had told me, I told him the story of Alexander. I said, Alexander took over the Persians, right? Because you're Persian. He goes, yes. And then I said, and the Punjabis, I heard the Punjabis killed him. I don't know if that's true. He said, no, the Punjabis didn't kill him. We killed him. I said, how did you kill him? If he took over you, how did you guys kill him? He says, because he came back to the land of Persia, and we went into the mountains. When we knew he was coming, we made a crown out of the mountains that we're not allowed to go into, because we understand everyone that goes in there comes out sick and dies. Yeah. We don't let our kids play in those. He said, we went in there and we carved a crown out of this place that makes everyone sick. And we gave him the crown, put upon his head. He took it with gratitude, thought, oh, they're bowing down to me even more. Yeah, put it upon his head. He wore it with him. It only takes a few days for you to interact with it in a very close proximity for it to affect you. He got some type of cancer. He fell sick and died. Makes sense. It says, after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. From verse 6, please, up.
Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them, many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
So wicked men out of the children of Israel came together and said, ever since we've been departing from these Gentiles and their ways and their customs, their traditions, their laws, so on and so forth, we have endured grief, we have suffered, we've lived miserably, right? So in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many. So they came out, started speaking to the people, letting them all know this same, I'll give an example. Same thing happened in the heavens. When Satan didn't want to do this and bow down to Adam, so on and so forth, he went out and persuaded many angels. The same thing happened here. Men of Israel came together and persuaded many people to come on their side and conform to the Gentiles. Come on.
Verse 12. So this device pleased them well.
Mm-hmm.
Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
See this? Someone break this down, verse 14 and 15. Read that again.
Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
You guys have a answer? You?
I do.
Go on. No, go.
What the exercise places are like it's under like Colosseum, so I think how they are based.
I don't know. You're telling me. Up.
Yeah. And then the circumcision part is like they agree, you know. So
Okay. It's very vivid, but give me Jeremiah 10. Jeremiah 10, pick up verse 1. The good old famous Jeremiah chapter 10. Yeah? I'm going straight back to Maccabees, so don't hold off there.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, and verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
So according to the Most High, it's very, very, very crystal clear. Do not learn the way of the heathen. Very crystal clear. So whatever they see the heathens doing out there, don't learn it. According to Christ, think not. Don't even allow it to come into your mind. Don't do it. Don't even contemplate on doing it. You understand? Your mind should be focused, wholly focused on what the Most High wants you to do rather than what this world wants you to do. So when we see on the TV them doing this, on the social media them doing that, or outside, you look outside your window. No, man, don't learn the way of the heathen. You shouldn't even want to learn the ways of the heathen. Come on.
Verse 3, for the customs of the people are vain.
Because all their customs, which is traditions, another word for traditions, is vain. It's vanity. Come on.
For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest.
The definition of vain means it serves no purpose. That's just one definition. So these customs are not going to do you any good, in other words. They're not going to help you get inside the kingdom. They're not going to help you on your spiritual journey, right? Finding the higher being or the Most High. They're not going to do any good for you. Go ahead.
The work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
Mm-hmm.
They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go.
So they must need to be held down. You understand? Born. This is the Christmas tree. We already know it's talking about the Christmas tree. There's only one tree in the world that they decorated with silver and gold. It's the Christmas tree. Simple as the days of old. But the customs of the people are vain. That's the main thing. Learn not the way of the heathen. That's the second main thing. And guess what? When you jump back up to the first verse, thus saith the Lord. This is from the Most High, not from elder this, bishop that, deacon this, or officer this. No, it's from the Most High himself. He's saying, no, don't do it. And so the same people in First Maccabees, the first chapter, you see, coming together to try and learn the way of the heathen. So what? All this grief and hardship that they're going through, the poverty that they're experiencing, can come to an end, can cease. That's the whole purpose of why they're doing it. But the Most High doesn't care what type of tribulation you're going through. He doesn't care what type of hardship you're experiencing, because if you had been what? Obedient from day dot, from the beginning, you wouldn't have experienced any of these type of hardships. That's the main message, right? Give me Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, please. Verse 15. And then, yeah, read that, please.
28:15.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all these commandments and these statutes, which I command thee this day, that all the curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So that all the curses will come upon thee and overtake thee. There's nothing you can do to overcome it. If you want to conform to the ways of the heathen, conform to the ways of the wicked, sure. But the end thereof is death. Yeah? Psalms 83, please, up.
This is Psalms 83.
Mhm.
Psalms 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in
You
remembrance.
see, one way of them cutting us off from being a nation is to force us to conform to their ways. Ever since we conformed to the ways of the Gentiles, we weren't a nation in Israel. We were captives. We were slaves. We weren't the great Israelite princes and kings and queens that we once were. No, we became slaves. And the longer they slaves, and the longer that we serve the Gentiles rather than serving our God, we will never ever be what we once were. So this is one of their main objectives, to push us in a direction where we have to lean on them rather than leaning on our God. Yeah. Let's jump back to Maccabees, please.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 16.
Pick up 14, please.
Or verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
All right, so they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem. Okay, in Jerusalem, they built a gymnasium. That's all it is. A place where you go to under a building and exercise. Yeah, we call that a gym. So they built a place of exercise or a gym in Jerusalem, verse 15.
And made themselves uncircumcised.
And it was contrary, it was mandatory, right? That you could not enter inside this gym if you were circumcised. Dirty people. Dirty people. They made themselves uncircumcised, which means exactly what the brother said. They had to sew back on skin onto their you know what. Because once they're circumcised, it's cut off. So they had to get skin and sew it back on to become uncircumcised. Everybody understand? What kind of delusional state of mind do you have to be in to actually do that to yourself? Disgusting. Go on.
And they forsook the holy covenant.
They forsook the holy covenant,
And
which was circumcision. Go on.
And joined themselves to the heathen.
Mm-hmm.
And were sold to do mischief.
Right, so they became heathens themselves. Israelites becoming heathens themselves. Jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof.
Exactly. You see the candlestick of light, the menorah that we have? Yeah, it's the candlesticks of light. It took away all the precious, what would you call it? The holy vessels, yeah? Come on.
Verse 22. And a table of showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold,
Mhm.
and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found.
Mhm.
And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly. Therefore, there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where there were, so that the princes and elders mourned the virgins, and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, that she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
Mhm. So not only did they come inside the temple and wipe it clean, there was a whole massacre throughout Israel, killing all the mighty men. That's why it's talking about the women. The women inside the marriage chambers, they were what? They were mourning as well. There should be a time where they're merry and joyful, but when this whole thing besieged Israel, what other spirit can you operate in? When your uncle just died, your father was killed, so on and so forth. The guy you were supposed to marry. Yeah? Read on.
Verse 29. And after 2 years had fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit.
They do the same thing today. You think you ever ask yourself why they took the books of the Apocrypha outside of the Bible? And one big reason is the book of Maccabees. Because if you wipe out the Grecian Empire, because so many people don't even understand that Greece was once an empire that ruled over Israel, ruled over the earth before the Roman took charge. Do you get me? So many people, so many Christians out there, when you ask them, we know about the Grecian Empire. The Grecian what? They know about the Egyptian Empire. They know about the Babylon and the Persian and the Roman. But no one, so many people in this day and age have no knowledge when it comes to the Grecians. So if you wipe out the Grecian Empire, out or the knowledge that talks about the Grecian Empire, wipe it out of the Bible, then guess what? We're not going to know what happened during that period. And if we don't know what happened during that period, since Rome, right, that fourth beast, is using tactics from the first, second, and third beast that came before them, we can read of the tactics in Babylon, the tactics in Medo-Persia, but then the one that, overtook both of them, we have no knowledge of. This is one of the tactics that Greece used against Israel to keep Israel in line, was to speak peaceable words unto them and gain their trust. It wasn't straight and direct like King Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon. It wasn't straight and direct, where you could see what he's saying is you get down or lay down, your choice. You don't do it this way, you're dead. That's how he spoke. But the Grecians use a different tactic. You understand what I'm saying? And now the Romans use that same thing. In this day and age, what does every prime minister or president in the Western world do to us? They give us promises, they make us trust them. Oh, yeah, he seems like a nice guy. Anthony Albanese. What kind of last name is that? I'm sorry, but they speak such peaceful words amongst us, gain our trust, we start believing in them, and then they turn their backs against us and do the complete opposite, and we become surprised every single time. Yeah, it's a tactic of the Grecians. Read.
Verse 30. And they spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much of the people of Israel.
So as soon as they become, what did I say in the beginning? Comfortable or complacent. Once they became comfortable in the situation that they were in, that's when they were most vulnerable, and that's when the enemy attacks. The same tactic as not only the Grecians, but the same tactic as the devil himself, as a roaring lion. Go ahead.
And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle.
Mm-hmm.
Then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her.
So they changed the whole construct of Jerusalem. They came and completely took over. And the native people of that land, or Israelites, became strange to that land. And the strangers became natives. Yeah? It's a whole conversion. In so much that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were in her, and her own children left her. Come on.
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt.
Come on.
As had been her glory, so was her dishonor. Increased and her excellency was turned into mourning.
And let's see another tactic that the Romans used. So the Grecians did this. They made the feast days. They nullified the feast days. Right? It says her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. All right, cool. This is what the Romans have done. Every island, every country, every city that they have conquered throughout the history of the Roman Empire, their whole objective was to take the Israelites as captive, right? And destroy the Sabbath, keep us away from keeping the Sabbaths. So what do? They come and they give us Sunday. Don't worry about, they have to worship Sunday, because when they came, even when they came to the islands, we were already celebrating feast days, per se, yeah? They took away those feast days and said, we're going to give you the feast days that come out of the Bible. So Jesus' birthday, Jesus' death. It's Christmas and Easter. We're also going to give you, the Bible says, honor thy father and thy mother. We're going to give you Mother's Day and Father's Day, which has nothing to do with the Bible whatsoever. But when you don't know the Bible yourself, you cannot discern or differentiate anything between pagan and what is holy. So you're going to take their word for it. And that's what happened. So the Romans have used that tactic as well, to keep us away from keeping the Sabbaths, keeps us further and further away from the Most High, keep us from celebrating any of his feast days, to keep us further and further away from the Most High. And the further and further away we are from him, the closer we are to the devil. The closer we are to the devil, the longer we are going to stay slaves. Very simple. Very, very simple. Come on.
Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
And when it says all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king, it's not just the Gentiles. Remember, when you read up further up in the chapter, a lot of Israelites converted to paganism too, and they became heathens. Yeah? So a lot of Israelites are conforming to this as well, becoming one people. Don't they teach that in amongst Christianity today? That we're all one under Christ? There is no such thing as a man or woman. There's no such thing as a Jew or a Greek. We're all one. It's foolishness. Come on.
Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice, and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
So that became a law. You have to profane the Sabbath, and you have to profane the festive days. Come on.
and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people.
Come on.
Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
See this in let me say this. Thanksgiving it's renowned for the turkey, correct? Yeah, we can all agree. That's not an unclean bird. We can eat that. That's cool. But what else is it renowned for or well known for in amongst the Israelite community? Thanksgiving. What do they cook on Thanksgiving? It's called chitlings or chitterlings, however you pronounce it. Yeah, you know what it is?
Yeah, got big.
Pork guts. Why is it every single festivity that the heathens give us, it revolves around pork? Christmas, leg of ham. Except for Easter. Easter, you're not allowed to eat any meat for some weird reason. Easter, you can only eat fish, which is weird. Doesn't make no sense. But do you get what I'm saying?
I said the meat kept representing God's body, so it's like we should eat meat.
Oh yeah, I heard another explanation. I heard because Jesus fed them when he came back with 5,000 fish, he didn't feed them with any meat. So that's why we're not allowed to eat meat. I'm like, okay, did he say we're not allowed to eat meat? What kind of foolishness? Man, I tell you. What verse we at?
48. 48.
Right, so they're setting up altars, or obviously worshipping other gods, groves, and chapels of idols, yeah? They're sacrificing swine's flesh and unclean beasts. So whatever is contrary to the laws of God, in accordance with the dietary laws, yeah? The king is all for. So, hey, is that a camel? Yo, bring the camel, let's sacrifice that camel. Is that a bull? No, keep the bull in the field. You want to bring a goat? Bring me that pig. You understand what I'm saying? It's foolishness, man. Anything and everything to defy the laws of our God and uphold their gods, their homosexual gods, mind you, they did it. Yeah? Read.
Verse 48. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he shall die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor.
Right. So anywhere, any Israelite that would try and keep the laws of God, they had to flee secretly into secret places. Because every city by that stage was owned, right, and run by the Grecians. And if you did not conform your ways, you were put down. It's very simple. But this is the historic value of the book of Maccabees. You understand? If we had never known what had happened inside the Grecian Empire, we wouldn't have thought anything much of the Grecian Empire. If someone said, you heard of the Grecian Empire? Yeah, mustn't have been that bad because no one really knows about it. Well, it was so bad that they had to take it away from us so that we couldn't see the tactics being used today. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, please, Art. Let's go back to the curses in verse 25. All right? Because when it says in verse 52 of First Maccabees, it says, then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. So they stayed, right? And drove the Israelites into secret places, which means they made these Israelites flee. Go ahead.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 25.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies.
We just saw that the Israelites were being smitten before the Grecian Empire. Come on.
Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them.
And in Maccabees, it says they drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. So the same thing, they fled into, come on,
and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Jump down to verse 49, please.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Exactly. And that's what happened every single time. A nation came to us, we didn't understand the language, they took over us, and that's all she wrote. Yeah? Give me 1 second. I just have to send this link. So let's go back to Maccabees, please, Ark, and pick up at verse 54.
This is First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month of Caslu, in the 140th and 5th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah onto every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. And wheresoever was found with any of the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High.
So remember, the word has just skipped my mind. It was literally on the tip of my tongue. Oh, you'll get back to me. Verse 60 again, please.
Verse 60. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women, that they had caused their children to be uncircumcised, be circumcised.
So the sanctuary was overthrown at this time, right? Yeah? And that's what the whole Feast of Dedication is about. We're going through the beginning, the first half, basically, to see how he lost it. The more we conform to them, like if you see a pattern, brothers and sisters, if you read this book, read this chapter, like within its fine print, if you read in between the lines, the more that we conform to the ways of the Gentiles, the more wrath came upon us in the end. Hold this. Give me the book of Judges, please. I think it's chapter 3. Let me double check. Let me double check 1 moment. Chapter 3 and verse 12, please. Check this out.
This is the book of Judges, chapter 3 and verse 12.
This is not very long after they came into the Holy Land after coming out of the wilderness, all right? Read.
And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years.
So when the children of Israel did evil, the Most High allowed these other nations to come over them, overthrow them, all right, and force them into captivity. Read.
Verse 15. But when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gerar.
So the children of Israel, when they go against him, the Most High would put the curses upon them. But every single time when the children of Israel were inside captivity, right, they would cry unto the Most High, and the Most High every single time would hearken unto their voice. This is how much the Most High loves Israel. You read that verse again?
But when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer.
The Lord did what?
The Lord raised them up a deliverer.
And this is a scripture you can give to your Old Testament only people. Yeah? They say there's only one deliverer, there's only one savior, that's the Lord, brother. that proves that Jesus can't be real and so on and so forth. It says it right here, the Lord raised up a deliverer unto Israel, which was a man, a Benjamite. But anyways, read.
Ehud, the son of Gerah, a Benjamite, a man left-handed, and by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger which had 2 edges of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. And he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab. And Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bare the present. But he himself turned again from the queries that were by Gilgal, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king, who said, keep silence. And all that stood by him went out from him. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. And he arose out of his seat.
So this is Ehud, remember the Benjamite, coming to the king Eglon of Moab. All right, and he had a dagger, which is like a knife, in between, hidden in amongst his legs. Go on.
And Ehud put forth his left hand, and took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly.
And what?
And thrust it into his belly.
And he made all that gravy, because it was a fat man, come right out. Red gravy. I shouldn't be making fat jokes, but anyways, Eglon, it says there, in verse 17, he was a very fat man. Big dude. Yeah. Out of his right thigh, kabang, stuck it in. But he was a deliverer. You understand? So the more that children, it goes to show that the more that the children of Israel conform to the ways of the Gentiles, the harsher the punishment was, the harsher the curses became. But when they conform to the Most High, just like when you go into the, I think it's 1 Kings 17, right? Or no, 2 Kings 17. I think it's 1 Kings. When it talks about the 10 tribes being taken into captivity, what do? Well, according to 2nd Ezra, when they came together and said, we don't want to conform to Assyria no more, the Most High allowed them to escape. And that's how they were scattered across the 4 corners of this earth. Do you understand? That's the 10 tribes. So every time we come together and we don't give 2 cares in the world about what these heathens are doing, or the law says you have to do this and do that, you have to. And then there's a law talking about, like, if you're a pastor, you cannot reject 2 homosexuals that want to get married. There's laws against that. And I'm not sure if there's some type of license you have to lose. Praise the Most High, we're not even a church that conforms to the Catholic Church anyways. You understand? But to hell with that. It's the absolute, most fiery pit of hell with that law. You understand? No, man, we're not going to conform to the ways of the Gentiles if it goes directly against our God. No, man. Let's go back to the book of Maccabees, please. And we are at verse 60, please, again.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 60. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them.
Now, a question, Norma. What happens if this young man is circumcised, they find out and they slew him by his neck? How would you feel? How would any of us feel? Not even just a mother, a father. Not even if you have any kids, but you see, you treat this kid like it's your own anyways. You got genuine love for my brother's kid, my sister's kid, so on and so forth. And you saw these people hang these infants by their necks. Even if they were hanging it by their feet, but give it 10 minutes, the blood would have rushed down to that baby's head and killed it anyways. But imagine witnessing these things. Put yourself in that position and imagine you're watching exactly what you're reading. It's very harsh. It's very cruel. You think about one of the most wicked men that ever lived and walked on this face of this earth, Nimrod. When you go in the book of Jasher, he grabbed a baby, an infant, so not even as old as that young Ezra here. He grabbed a young infant and smashed their head against the wall. Come on, man. Imagine witnessing these things. Now, me as a man, I don't know what I would do if I was to see someone do that. I don't know. I really don't know. The rod would have come back and I said, what you did to the baby, I'm doing to you. Do you understand? It's disgusting. It's so discouraging. But imagine being in that position. Now put yourself in that position and think to yourself, would you have a young baby, see that baby being tortured or killed, or both, right? Would you be able to stand firm on the Most High then? Would you be able to stand firm on your faith? Would you not conform to the ways of the Gentiles? Or would you conform to the Most High still and allow each and every one of your child to be killed right in front of you? Could you? Do you have the courage? Do you have the courage to do so? Because it's coming back. Like I said, man, everything inside this Bible is not to scare us, it's to encourage us. It's to give us more strength. Because when these things happen, you have to be in that mindset like, all right, praise the Most High. There's one thing you can praise the Most High for. According to 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter, and the 31st verse, all children that are taken before their time, we will see inside the kingdom. Be it we make it there as well. You understand? So praise the Most High, my child got in. That's one way you can look at it. I still hate this guy. I'm still coming after you. Don't worry, you understand? But brothers and sisters, we have to, the same people that conform to the ways of the Gentiles back then, the same spirit they operated in. When you look at people operating in that same spirit now, they are the ones that are going to conform to the mark of the beast. They're going to do it. Why? Because for us as fathers and as mothers, when we look at our children, we want to provide for them, protect them. Most importantly, protect them spiritually, mentally, and physically from any harm that we can, right? And then when they say, oh, you can't feed your child without taking the mark, so on and so forth. And so many people are going to conform to the ways of the Gentiles at that time to do what? To keep their children alive because of the love they have for their child. But this is wake up call, right? We have to remember our first love first. Remember the Most High first. That's it. These are trials that we must go through. Just as gold is tried in the fire, don't take that sentence lightly. Don't take it lightly. Yeah? What verse do you have?
62.
Read.
Verse 62. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats.
And here's another way. When I was reading this morning, something came to my mind. I thought to myself, there's times, brothers and sisters, when we're operating in the past few years while walking inside this truth, and life gets hard. Life gets hard financially. The stress you have at work with other work. When you were working at that job, Dale, I used to always hear you talk about this and that with that boss and all that. Life is hard. Very hard. We can't do the things that we want to do because we're so held back by life itself. Yeah? Check this out. If I was to ask you a question, yeah? Would you conform to the ways of the Most High and stay true to Him if it meant death? All of our answers should be yes. Could you physically be that strong? Mentally be that strong? When you see the weapons that they pull out of there, you see some of them horror movies and you see some of these knives, and I can't stand knives, man. Knives, the surgical knives. When I look at that, I feel some type of way. I really do. Yeah? But would you be strong enough to stay true to your God? It's a question that we have to ask ourselves. And the Feast of Dedications is the best time to do so. Are you going to stay dedicated to the Most High, or are you going to fold? because the pressure will be real. But here's a question I have, yeah? Getting back to the point. We all want to make it to the kingdom. Would you rather suffer for 100 years to get there? Or would you rather suffer for 20 and be killed for Christ and get there? I'll tell you this much, man. Stay alive for what? I keep the Sabbath. Sweet. Everybody understand where I'm coming from, right? It's like an easy option. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing, wherefore the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. Last verse.
And there was a very great wrath upon Israel.
And the Grecians came upon Israel even heavier. Yeah? But who cares? Soon and very soon, we are going to see the King. Very simple. Go back to the curses up. Deuteronomy 28, please. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 32.
You see, every person that was martyred for the Most High, martyred for Christ, martyred for righteousness' sakes, they have a spot in the kingdom, and a crown is awaiting to be put upon their heads. Yeah, don't be discouraged. Remember, take the scriptures inside the Bible, everything that it's all history right here. Take it all, not to scare the living daylights out of you, but to encourage you to stay firm and to stay strong. Yeah, come on.
Deuteronomy 28 and 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them, all day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
All right, so thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see, because you're seeing your sons and your daughters become oppressed and being given to another people. This is the type of, look, if you read the Bible during the week, if you read the Bible on the Sabbath, whenever you do read the Bible, envision what you're reading. It will provide you a whole deeper context. It will provide you the correct context. It will provide you the emotion on what, like, think about it. Put yourself in that situation, seeing your own children being given away. It's a feeling not any parent should ever experience, but it's a feeling nonetheless that is real. And it happens. It has happened, but guess what? It's only ever happened to the children of Israel due to our disobedience. That's why it's even more important for us to be obedient to the Most High and put the Most High before our own goals, before our own things that we want to accomplish for ourselves. Now, when the Bible says be a living sacrifice, oh man, there's certain things, if it's hindering you or stopping you from pursuing the Most High, then put it aside. Do you get me? I kid you not. The Most High understands if you have to work here and there or whatever, it's cool. Okay. There is grace and mercy to certain situations, but there's not grace and mercy to every situation. I'm not going to, I was out of work a few years ago. I'm looking for jobs and I was seeing good jobs, paying well, and it's going to help me and my family financially. And if it helps me financially really good, I can focus more on the Bible. Yeah? But that means I had to work every Sabbath. And I'm not working no Sabbath. The most I will do is do afternoon shift and that Friday evening. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the most. But I'm not going to work a night shift and have to work every Friday 10 p.m., which is on the Sabbath, all the way up until Sabbath morning. Or work on the Saturday every Saturday. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to conform to breaking God's Sabbath Because that's the one thing that keeps you in line and keeps you in the spirit. And you start getting complacent and comfortable in not keeping the Sabbath in its entirety, right? It's not, this is why I encourage people, don't just watch online, gather. Because when you start becoming complacent and comfortable, staying at home, we may never ever see you again. It's happened so many times before. Yeah? Give me, jump down to verse 65, please.
This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 65. And among these nations shall I find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
Because you're constantly working yourself out. You're constantly doing this, that, and the third to be able to have your family survive or keep floating above sea level. You're constantly going 10 yards more than you have to keep your family from going through poverty. Keep your family from drowning. That's amongst these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Read.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
Think about it. 5 days a week you're required to go to work, and majority of jobs these days require a 6th day, the Sabbath. They say just rest on a Sunday, knowing very well that Sunday is not our Sabbath. But a lot of us that even keep the Sabbath, check it. A lot of us, including myself, treat Sunday as a Sabbath. Whenever I don't have work on a Sunday, I'm not doing anything. I'm resting. Half the time I'm resting. Do you get me? Because I'm working Monday to Friday. Then we have the Sabbath. We're here, I come here to teach, we're doing this thing, congregating and all that. So I get back home, then I have my kids I have to deal with. I'm tired throughout the whole Saturday. And Sunday, if I've got nothing to do, I'm not making any plans. You see what this lifestyle, it pushes us into one direction to conform to them and their ways without us even knowing. Yeah? The sole of thy foot shall find no ease, right? Have no rest. Read.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
And I've had this mentality many times, brothers and sisters, many times. The assurance of my life and the life of my family, it's always been in question. You understand? Sometimes you get bullied at work, or they put you in a certain situation just because of your ethnicity or so on and so forth. You might be your age, you might whatever it is, and there's no assurance of you keeping a job. Now we have casual. It's so hard to find a permanent job these days. Becoming permanent is very rare. So then where's the assurance of you providing from week to week? How are you supposed to put money away and have a stress-free life when you have to be solely committed to that job, do everything and more for the boss so that you can keep that job, so that your family can keep clothes on their back, a roof on their head, and food in their stomachs? And then you go from job to job. Oh, sorry, we don't need you anymore. Let go just like that. The curses are real, man. The curses are real. Then you have these Gentiles come from other countries, like not to be racist, but the Indians, they're right next door. But you know what I'm saying? The Arabs, yeah. They come from nowhere, and they start owning $60,000 cars. One of my favorite ones, Mercedes C63. One of my favorite cars. They even have, that's like their base level model. Those same people I said the first time, they come and own $2 million mansions. Where are you getting this money from? You came from nowhere. You're supposed to come from overseas and start behind us. But you're already ahead of us. And now I'm paying my rent money to you? Come on, man. What is going on? Yo?
Where my sister lives, in Catherine, in fact, it's like off the Aussie. She's Jewish, but they're all Indian. All the houses there,
Yeah.
they're just taking over cities.
They've taken over nearly every city, that the Chinese as well. You know what I mean? It's crazy. There's one guy at my work, right? And praise the Most High, I'm going to be leaving this job soon, yeah? But this dude, he works night shift, and one of the Fijian boys came up to me and goes, man, you know, that guy there, boy, he's so lazy, you know? I'm like, why? Well, man, he doesn't want to put away anything, man. He just wants to leave it there, doesn't pack up, doesn't tidy up for us. I have to do his work. And I said, oh, okay. So I said, which one are you talking about? The Indian man. I said, oh, yeah. Then they said, yeah, and he's rich. He owns like the 7-Eleven down there. He owns 2 houses. I said, oh, yeah. What's he doing working here? And he's working the highest paid rate shift that you can possibly work, which is night shift. On top of that, in this workplace that I'm at night shift, there's no bosses. You don't have to do, really, you have to do the bare minimum, which is what he does. Gets paid top rate to do bare minimum work, and he's rich. And I said to them, how long has that guy been in Australia?
And then you go to a job for them, and you tell them $50, and they go, oh, no, $20.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Anyways, this is just the curses. All right? Amongst these nations shalt thou find no ease. But if we had kept to the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High in the beginning, we would never have gone through this. So it's cool. Yeah? It's cool. Let them have their time. Go back to the first Maccabees, please, Ark, and go to the last chapter. Please, get me chapter 4. We're going to read the whole chapter, and that'll be the last one.
First Maccabees, chapter 4.
Mhm.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, in verse 1. Then took Georges 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews, and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, and he might smite the king's army which was at Amos, while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Georges by night in the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains, for said he, these fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain, with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their mind.
Check it. They conspired to come to us at night time, knowing very well we're sleeping. And I think it's one of the rules in warfare. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the rules of in warfare. You're not allowed to actually attack at night time. You're supposed to give them rest. You know, when two countries go to war, you're actually not allowed to attack at night time. If you do so, it's like a big abomination. But don't quote me on that. I'm like 85% sure that's a rule, like an unwritten rule. But anyways, go ahead.
And verse 7, and they saw the camp of Slakia. For verse 6, but as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords.
So these are the men that conformed to the ways of the Most High, stayed true to him, stayed in the faith, walked accordingly. Okay? And now the Gentiles are trying to come against them. And Judas is like, nah, man, you can come against us, it's cool. But we're going to fight for what's rightfully ours, and we're going to fight for the Most High. We're not conforming. We've had enough. Read.
Verse 7, and they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen. And these were experts of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not the multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army.
Because it's very, very, very overwhelming. Say, for example, you have no shields, you have no swords, you have no helmets, no nothing. And then you look straight ahead and you see all these men, like 5 times the size of you. You know? 5 times the size of you. Number 1. 2, they have all these classy animals, their horses. Their horses have armor on. And you have nothing. Even their horses have armor. It's discouraging. It's discomforting. That's why Judas had to reassure them and say, "Oh no, man, don't be discouraged. Don't be discomforted by the appearance of them and the multitude of them. Don't. Because remember what the Most High did for us when the Egyptian army came against us at the Red Sea. Read.
Verse 10. Now therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined the battle, and the heathen being discomfited fled into the plain. Howbeit, all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gazaria, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Jamania, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men. This done Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, Be not greedy of the spoils, inasmuch as there is a battle before us, and Judas and his host are here by us in the mountain.
In other words, don't take your focus off what's happening before us. Don't worry about the spoils, because usually, we overcome this and overthrow this, we'll take the spoils thereof. No, man, don't worry about no spoils. We have a battle to fight. Read.
But stand ye now against our enemies, and overcome them, and after this ye may be boldly to take the spoils.
Once everything's finished, then do so. All right? But don't be that rabbit and the tortoise and don't look straight at everything else. Eyes on the prize. Come on.
Verse 19. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to fight, and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight.
So they started becoming discomfited themselves. You see how easily it is to switch that spirit, that spirit of fear that comes upon you, like, oh, your heart's pacing. I'll give an example. Every single time before I stepped inside the boxing ring years ago, right, my heart would be pacing. Even to now, you ask the professional fighters and all that, you get nervous before fights. 100% every single person does. If you don't, you're not human. Because there's a chance that you can lose in front of a multitude of people. Because you could underestimate your opponent at any given moment, thinking that you're too good, and you might be too good for your own self. There's fear, your heart starts pacing. You become short of breath at times. You start feeling tingling in your body. These things happen, it's real, right? And this spirit that comes upon you, you can make it flee through certain activities, right? But you can also push this spirit upon your opponent. And this is exactly what happened. When Judas told him, don't get discomforted, don't be fearful. Remember what the Most High has done for us, so on and so forth. The spirit of courage and strength came upon us. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Started going to war. Boom. Down, man down, man down, man down. 5,000 men down. Dead. Burning your tents. Letting everybody know, don't mess with us. So the Gentiles are watching from the mountains. They're like, oh, damn. These guys, man. And now the spirit's upon them. Everything's flipped. Go ahead.
Verse 22. They fled everyone into the land of the strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches. After this, they went home, and sung a song of thanksgiving, and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day.
A great deliverance that day. Come on.
Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened, who when he heard thereof was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass.
So everything that he had according to his plan wasn't working. And Israel, who they so easily discomforted in times past, were now easily discomforting them. And so now he's being discouraged himself. It says, I want to make something clear. It says in verse 25, thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. Now check this out. Now we're coming into the second part of dedication. So the first part, we're seeing how we went against the Most High, so on and so forth. And our sanctuary was taken. You understand? The temple was being taken, was being dedicated to pagan festivities, pagan gods, unclean animals, and abominations, right? And now this is where we're delivering ourselves, and we're actually it's on our way back to regaining our temple. Yeah? What verse we at?
26.
Read.
Now all the strangers that had escaped and told Lysias what had happened, who when he heard thereof was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. The next year, therefore, following Lysias, gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. And when he saw the mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of mighty men by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of the strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their own power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away.
This is the prayer of Judas, right? Unto the Most High, make them to be of no courage. Take away their courage, Father. Deliver us. We are your children. Come on.
And let them quake at the destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love you.
Mm-hmm.
And let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving.
Because it's not just now. Look, this is why I say to brothers and sisters, when you read the Bible, be real with the Bible. When you envision what you're reading, it's a lot easier for you to see the reality of the events that have occurred inside the scriptures, rather than reading it. Because sometimes, and myself as well, you know, in times past, I've read the Bible as if it's like some make-believe story. I've read the Bible as if it's some type of fairy tale. No, these are real lifetime events. These things happen. So put yourselves in that event. Put yourselves in those shoes. I'm going to put myself in the shoes of Judas. Now I'm asking the Most High, please deliver us, discomfort our enemies, so on and so forth. Yada, 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 so on and so forth. The same way when Elisha and he had the armies round about with all their horsemen, and he told his servant Naaman, like, yo, Father, open up his eyes. Show him what I can see. The chariots, the heavenly chariots around about, the angels there, our guardians. And let us walk out of here invisible to our enemies. And it was so. Do you understand? The power of our God, this is the same spirit we have to try and operate in and remain in. Yeah? What verse about? 33?
34.
Read.
So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men.
Mm-hmm.
Even before them were they slain.
So Judas and his army slew around 5,000 men. Come on.
Now when Lysias saw his army put to fight, and the manliness of Judas soldiers, and how they were ready to either to live or die valiantly.
Either to live or die valiantly. That's key. Check it. When I was on the streets before, yeah, there was a rule of thumb. It's called a HK. Okay. Now you have fake HKs, which is 90% of the population that walk on the streets and think that they're hard. A HK is like a hard person. You know, it's a Sydney slang. You have a real HK and a fake one. A fake one is all about the looks. They'll dress the same way. They'll talk the talk. They're doing that, blah, 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 blah. You know, they'll talk the talk, right? They'll walk the walk, but they won't be walking the walk. Do you get what I'm saying? They can walk the walk, and because there's a certain walk that you can walk, and people will be like, "Oh, I wouldn't want to mess with that dude." It's like a lion letting everybody know, like, no, I'm the king of the jungle. When I walk these streets, they're my streets right now. Yeah, check it. But when push comes to shove, they don't do anything. They're fake HKs, right?
Can you spot the fake?
Very easy, yeah. Very easy. A real HK knows when a real HK is in front of him, and a real HK knows when a fake HK. A fake one, you can tell. Like, It's just not about that life, really. You know, when push comes to shove, you push yourself away. You find a way out. A real one is like, all right, cool. I'm ready to live or die. I don't really give two damns. I don't care. I'll die for this. So if you want to get down, let's get down. But you better rock up because I'm coming. Do you get what I'm saying? The time and place, the location, I'm coming. So the reason why I'm saying this is because when we're verse 35, right? And the manliness of Judas' soldiers and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly. Now this is how do you pronounce his name? Lysias. Him looking upon Judas's soldiers, seeing that spirit where they have no fear. The one thing we all knew when we were on the street before the truth, was a man who's ready, who doesn't care whether he lives or dies, who's not scared of death, is the one you should fear the most. Yeah? The one you should fear the most. They will go to the fullest extent. They don't care what type of extent they have to go to get the job done, they will do it. And this is the same people Judas had in his army, where they don't care whether they die that day or they live. They're coming to do a job, and that's all they're worried about. So when you see Lysias and his army see that spirit upon the Israelites, it's discomforting for them. Because here we are, we're coming with the flashiest gear. We got we got the Grecian 2000 shield, you know what I mean? And we got the these dad jokes don't go too far, but we've got the flashiest armors and the best swords and so on. It's not doing us any good. Yeah? When you're versing a man that doesn't care, is not scared of death, be careful. Just be careful. Finish with this 35, please.
Verse 35. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight and the manliness of Judas' soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia and gathered together a company of strangers. And having made his army greater than it was, he proposed to come again into Judea.
Now I just want to give one example. Yeah, sorry to chime in again. If you see boxing and you see Mike Tyson, small dude. Mike Tyson is the same height as me. He's like just 6 foot. Yeah, just with shoes on. He will stand there looking at a 6'5", 6'6", however tall they are, opponent, just stand there. They're going side to side. He's just not taking his eye off them once. Now, don't get me wrong. Mike Tyson as well, he was nervous before every single fight. But when he got inside that ring and he's eyeing them out, it's wartime. It's war. That's it. That's all. I'm only here to do one job. And guess what? When he operated in that same spirit and pride didn't get the best of him, and he was surrounded by good people, he succeeded every single time. There wasn't one guy that could mess with him at that when he was in his prime. That's the same dude, that same spirit, doesn't care whether he lives or dies. Go ahead.
Verse 36. Then said Judas and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
And let me stop again. All right, the last one, I promise. The spirit we have to operate in when these armies come against us, we have to operate in this spirit. When the Bible says all scripture is given, let's get that real quick. 2 Timothy. Verse 36 in Maccabeus, the first chapter, yeah? 2 Timothy, the third chapter, read verse 16 and 17, please. Yeah?
This is 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 16.
Come on.
All scripture is given by inspiration of God.
So all scripture we read is given by the inspiration of our God. Come on.
And is profitable for doctrine.
It's profitable. It's not something that we should shun or look at it as a storybook and it's never going to happen in my lifetime. No, man, it's profitable for you. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Come on.
For reproof.
For doctrine, for reproof.
For correction.
For correction.
For instruction in righteousness.
And instruction in righteousness. How we are supposed to deal with certain situations that happens to us on a daily basis or that happens to us once in a lifetime. If it's inside the Bible, we can use the Bible as a base, as a guide, as an instruction on how we're supposed to handle this situation. It's happened before. So if they're going to come and take our children, we can go through the book of Maccabees. We can read on how the righteous dealt with it and how the unrighteous dealt with it, and we'll choose the righteous side. This is how we are supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do. This is how we're supposed to act, so on and so forth. Read verse 17.
Verse 17, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works.
Exactly. This is what's going to lead us unto perfection. The scriptures, inspired by the Most High. Come on.
First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 37.
Yeah.
Upon this, all the host assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Sinai. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts, as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
Until he had what?
Until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
So it's the cleansing of the temple. The temple was taken over by heathens, was defiled by heathens, and now he's coming back to try and clean it. Read.
So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down.
So they pulled it down. They're not going to use it again. Just like I think someone asked me one time. I said, "Yo, I want to buy a saucepan and some pots and pans and stuff." Someone said, "Oh, look on Marketplace on Facebook." I said, "Hell no. I want new knives as well. Marketplace. No. Why not? You're going to spend all that extra money for a brand new." I said, "Absolutely. I'm not having a pork chop skillet. I'm not having that. I'm not cooking something that was used to cook unclean foods or abominable foods. Not doing it. I don't care if you cleansed it 10 million times. You washed it 10,000 times after that. No, I'm not doing it." That's the same thing that they were saying here. Yo, this was used to sacrifice swine and things of that nature. But I want to make a disclaimer though. Some people may be still in school when they first come to the truth or whatever, and their families use such things for bacon or pork or whatever. Yeah? Unclean fish, seafood. Yeah, there's grace. But if you're a man and you run your own household, you have a responsibility to make sure everything's clean. I'm just going to put that out there. But if you're living with your own family members, you have nothing else, there is no way around it, yeah, man, there's grace for it, yeah? Verse 44, yeah? 6, go on.
Verse 46, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took the whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary, and things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Casliu, in the 148th month, in the 184th year, they rose up betimes in the mornings, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that it was dedicated with songs and cithens and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshipping and praising the God of heaven, Salakia, who had given them good success, and so that they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice.
So remember this sacrifice of deliverance and praise. Sorry. So remember, this is happening in the 9th month, which is the month that we're in right now. Yeah. Feast of Dedications. They kept it for 8 days. Today being the first day, all the way up until next Saturday. 8 days. Yeah. Verse 57.
They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there a very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with his whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month of Caslu, with mirth and gladness. And at that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before.
Mm-hmm.
And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortify it, Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
And we know the Idumeans are who? The Edomites. Yeah? Give me Deuteronomy 28. So all in all, the Feast of Dedication, people asked me before, what is the Feast of Dedication about? It's just the renewing of the temple. Where they rededicated the temple back to the Most High after it was profaned and after it was used for abominations, used for pagan festivities, and used for the heathen. I like to use the word, it was heathenized, and then they re-cleansed it, brought it back to the Most High. Yeah, that's basically what the Feast of Dedication is. It's like the Feast of Purim. After what had happened, if you don't know about Purim, read the book of Esther. After everything happened the way it happened, they dedicated 2 days for Purim in commemoration of the events that had just taken place. Do you get me? So these events that had just taken place is over the years, they were suffering the curse of the Most High. The heathen came, overthrew the temple, overthrew the sanctuary, defiled it. Judas became a deliverer, like we saw a deliverer, Ehud in the book of Judges, the 3rd chapter, came to deliver Israel out of the situation that they were currently involved in and regained the temple, cleansed it, cut all the shrubs and everything that was overgrown, so on and so forth, the weeds and such like, renewed what needed to be renewed, so on and so forth, and rededicated it back to the Most High, even though it should never have been taken away from the Most High in the beginning. Yeah, that's the feast. That's the Feast of Dedications. First, pick up a verse 1, please.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 1. And it shall come to pass that thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all these commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
So Israel, very important message. If you want to hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to be obedient, he will set you on high above all nations of the earth. That's the in or end or. Verse 7.
Verse 7 says, the Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face.
And anyone that wants to come against you, good luck to them. They're going to die. It's simple. You be obedient to me, I will make sure no nation touches you. You will be under the hedge of my protection, and no one can come near without dying. Yeah? It's a literal death sentence to come against you guys if you be obedient to me. Read.
They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways.
The same way the Gentiles made us flee into the mountains to keep the Sabbath and so on and so forth, we're going to make them flee. They come in one way, they're going to flee 7 ways. They're going to be discouraged and discomforted, and they're going to wish they never ever came against the children of Israel. Read.
The Lord shall command the blessings upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
So you're never going to go through this, what we know as, it's like so common amongst Israel in this day and age, poverty. Yeah, how many times as a kid I'd look up in the fridge, nothing there. All right, go back to the lounge room. 5-10 minutes later, oh, my stomach's rumbling. I go back to the same fridge that I just looked into, opening up, Did I miss anything? No, nothing did. Go back to the lounger, 5 10 minutes again, back to the fridge, open it up. Something should have popped up by now. This is my life as a kid. This is what I remember. Open up the cupboard. I only ever had 3 things guaranteed inside my cupboard. It was Weet-Bix, jam, and Vegemite. Half the time there was no bread. And half the time there was no milk for the Weet-Bix. Gee, I didn't even have them at all. You get me? That was just for my breakfast. It's a guaranteed breakfast, but throughout the whole day, I'm opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing. But if you be obedient to the Most High, He's going to bless your storehouses, which means, you're going to have food in the cupboards. Food in the cupboards. And then it says, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. Now, type in on the chat if you've ever experienced what I just said. And anyone here ever experienced that as a kid growing up? You've been opening the cupboard back and forth. There's no food, and you're hungry, you're starving. No one?
It was always interesting for us. We didn't have, like the kids do now, like snacks in between meals and that. My mum only had, like, it was always just enough.
Oh, yeah.
It was never an abundance.
Man, I was skinny, like real skinny. I was like skin and bone. Yeah, it's not something that I miss, that's for sure. Definitely not something I miss. Verse 9, and we'll finish it off there.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 9. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways.
All right, the Most High will establish thee an holy people unto himself. So this is a separate nation from all nations. Ain't no one gonna come near, and no one should even think about coming against my people. That's it. You will be above every nation in the world, and I will bless thee abundantly. Yeah? But as we already know, throughout history, Israel forsook the Most High time and time again, had nations rule over them time and time again. Also, scattered across the 4 corners of the earth, and here we are today. Coming back to the Most High, keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments under Christ, keeping the Sabbaths, the feast days, and we're trying our best to do things right. Yeah? And that's all we can do. With that, let's give the Most High a round of applause. And I guess I'll ask this week, is there any questions? If there's any questions online, type it in the chat.
If you're a martyr, right, does that mean that like judgment is overlooked for you? Like you make it into a kingdom straight away, and you got your spot, and there's no judgment?
I wouldn't say that judgment is overlooked, but you get your crown. Yeah. Dangerous for me to say it's overlooked. I wouldn't say that per se, but basically.
Because some people might take that and live however they want, and then they'll be like, oh, just.
Because I'm going to live however I want to live. I can do whatever I want to do, but I'm purposely going to piss this dude off so he can kill me, knowing he's a Muslim, so he denounced Christ. Jesus is my savior. But, the intention behind it, I wouldn't say that. But a real martyr, yeah. There's fake ones, fake followers and all that. But all right, with that, we'll pray out, we'll eat, and depart. Blessings to everyone that's online. Thank you for joining. We'll see you all next week. Have a haircut by next week. Yeah. Next week, confirm the time. Right here. All right, family. With that, we'll see you guys next week, and everyone have a blessed Sabbath, wherever you may be on this earth. Shalom. Oops.